not remembering it perfectly.
Oh, shoot. What just happened? Dang.
Henya, you look nice.
Thank you. So do you.
I look
So
the
do you,
same. But
darling.
I look very techie with my headset though, like a professional, right?
And your gaming chair.
I know. I'll change it to the other chair because it completes the picture a little too much.
Oh, it's pretty. It's a really nice chair. Not pretty, but it's very
royal. No.
Yeah, very.
This didn't seem to do anything useful for me.
It should. What happened? What do you see now?
It popped up to where it popped up a random site that I put in. I thought the last thing I could do was a random site, and I put in a random site.
No, just put in uphill. I tried a whole bunch of random sites and it didn't work. So why don't you put in exactly their website, which is, I think it's uphillmedia.org. Yeah.
Do you remember the exact thing? Uphill?
Yeah, it's uphillmedia.org, but you might have to type in the HTTP. If you do, just type it in the browser and then copy it.
And then it didn't need anything after the .org?
No, I don't think so. Fingers crossed. If not, we can just do it to the one Facebook location, but.
Let me think.
Henier, Gus Newport might come to this too. Yeah, you probably saw in the email.
Great. He's not that great at communicating.
No, he's fine. It's my fault.
Okay. No, I was just going to say, I need his bio.
Yeah, I asked him for it for the first time in that email. And he was like, "Oh, bio, okay." Because I was like, I could just pull one off the internet. He was like, "Oh, I have something." So we'll see if he responds. Yes, Stephen?
I see this. I'm in Restream, and I see the stream. Is that what you're talking about? Do I need to do anything with that?
You're seeing, okay, you're in Restream, and on the top right, you see our stream?
Yeah, I see in that box, I see the picture.
Okay, great. And on the left, you see the Facebook page is listed?
On the left, yes, I see. Yeah, in fact, so online, so it is going to YouTube. It is going to Facebook. It is going to Periscope. Yeah.
Okay, but it's going to the wrong Periscope and the wrong YouTube, right?
Which is fine. We don't care. I mean,
well, let's do it with ours.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. We could stream from their Twitter, I guess, if they're okay with that. But I think because we could do it really fast right now. You want to just leave it and stream from there?
I would like to leave it the way it is now.
Okay.
So
you're set. You're set then. All you have to do is click the little dot to turn it on the different places you want to turn it on. And John said he would be here. John, where are you?
But now, I'm so confused. So I'm looking in the Facebook page.
No, look on the Restream.
No, I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
As a user, how would a user see this? It actually.
When you go live, it's going to appear on the Facebook page.
I feel like I'm on the pit. Oh no, I'm in advance.
We didn't go live yet. It shouldn't be there yet.
Lauren, I didn't get you the code for the tweet.
Yeah, he just said we're not going to switch it to our Twitter account. We're going to leave it on their Twitter account for this event. But yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I do see it. Is it?
The world we live in now. Okay, so all you have to worry about is on that Restream page.
Well, the reason I was saying,
do we have anyone in our waiting room yet? Okay. Also, more importantly, make us both co-hosts because we're going to need to start in a second.
Right. I see Omar. So Hanieh, I talked to Omar about doing introductions.
Beautiful.
I told him 5 minutes.
Okay, great. Anything you do to ensure that I don't ramble on with my nonsensical like words and just
It'll be great.
thank you, darling. 6 people. Wow, entered the waiting room.
Oh,
Good.
great. Event. Okay. Let's see where we're at.
And how long is this event for?
It's 2 hours. We'll see, how it's going. And at some point, yeah, the caravan people should pop in. I'm just gonna, I guess, communicate with you in the chat. So if there's anything that, or you can just say things to me like, "Hey, Lauren."
Any
whatever.
word from the caravan?
Yeah, like, "Hey, do you see any caravan people
Yeah.
here?" or whatever. Yeah. Okay, where are we? Are we good? How are we, Steven? You think it's gonna work? Now the people, oh no, we do have a lot of people in the waiting room. 7, okay. We got the participant list. Now where's the chat? Here's the chat. So Stephen, you're gonna want to have it in speaker view, okay? Not gallery view. Now, if at any point we want to like show the people at home, everyone who's there, and maybe we want to do like a cheer or a motion or something together, then we'll want to go to gallery view, and I'll be able to, you'll be able to see that chat. I'll send it to you in the Zoom. But we just got to make sure it's definitely streaming to one location, because then we have the, well, I guess we have the recording either way, but. We got to start letting people in. Are we,
Yeah.
are we close to being able to go live? You're muted. I don't know.
I say let them in. Let them in. It's definitely streaming to Facebook. I will start the recording.
Okay, is it on speaker view?
Mine is. My screen
Great,
is on.
because what your screen looks like is what everyone's going to see.
Ah.
So you're the only one that gets to control who, anyone who's not in the Zoom meeting, what their view looks like. Everyone else can control their own view if they're in the Zoom meeting.
Okay.
I think we should let Amr probably in, huh?
Yeah, definitely let him in. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna admit him right now.
I started the recording.
Hi, welcome.
Hello, everybody.
Hey.
Is my audio okay?
Oh, it's not great.
No.
Oh, wait, is it choppy or quiet?
It's choppy.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I put my headphones on.
You have the honor to be in our experiment, our brand new experiment with Zoom live streaming to multiple platforms.
All right, is that any better?
Yeah, that sounds
Yeah, that's
better.
All right, so I'm gonna keep these earpiece on. That's all right? And you can hear me okay? I can hear you.
Yes.
All right, very good.
Much better.
Be aware you are streaming to multiple platforms now.
Are we live?
Facebook, Twitter,
Are we now live?
YouTube.
All right, very good.
We're live.
All right, well, let's let in our attendees, shall we?
Sure.
All right, sounds good.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey, everybody.
Everybody.
Oh my gosh. Why are all the meetings happening at the same time?
No.
Hello, healthcare fans.
Yeah. All the news is breaking at the same time.
I
Oh,
know.
was there news today? I didn't hear.
Amar, so you running for Senate?
I know, right?
I think we're going to have 2 Senate seats. I cannot see Feinstein trying this again.
Yeah, that's a really
Alright.
good point. Newsom's got a lot of chips to play and to call in and to set up. It's be interesting.
Should draft Roe.
That's what I saw.
think-
People are talking about Roe and Karen Bass.
Yeah, I think the model we did for the VP announcement, where we say, okay, here's 3 people, pick one. I think that's another good model for Senate, where we don't try to divide our voices. We get a vast consensus behind 2 candidates and push them both and say, pick one.
I think that's wise.
Welcome, everybody. We're gonna give it a few minutes for everyone to show up.
If you want, you can change your name to maybe where you're from, or if you're a delegate, and keep your name too.
Got my email confirmation. Ballot has been accepted.
It's out in a few minutes, yeah.
Oh, lucky you. I haven't got mine confirmation yet.
Check your junk box. Mine went to straight to junk because they know anything from California Democratic Party goes to junk. It's terrible. I did not say that out loud.
You did not say that and stream it to the world. No, you didn't.
By the way, everybody, we are live streaming.
What do you guys know about this delegate or balloting process training that we all were told we have to sign up for? Is our vote going to be like held until we go through this training, or what is this about?
I don't believe that's the case. It's just that, yeah, from my understanding, a lot of people, including myself, have had problems submitting their ballot. Because when I saved it as a PDF document, I can still go back and change the answer. So that might be what they wanted to train people on.
Well, I scanned mine and I attached that as well.
Oh, that's really smart. I may do that actually.
This is Melody. I just submitted mine today, and it's very easy to fill out. Too easy, but it is easy. But you do have to save it as a document, not as a download. I tried to save it as a download, and it would wipe out my votes. So you have to go back and cast your vote and then save it as a document. And then with that document, you email that document to the address where you got the ballot from, as attach it as a document. And it went through for me, and it saved the votes. So that's what you really have to watch is, did it save it or did it wipe it out in all the process?
Thank you for that.
Okay.
Just Minnesota, the Minnesota DFL party told us what we should do is download it, fill it out. You can download it as a PDF. And sorry, Ken McInnes, Minnesota delegate. Download it, fill it out in a PDF form, save it, and then attach it to an email and send it back to them. And put in the email what your votes are, so that they can check and make sure it got recorded the right way. So that's what they told us to do in Minnesota.
What happens if there's a conflict between what you type in your email and what you submit on your form?
My guess would be that they're going to contact you right away and say, what's the deal here?
For that
But
reason, you should include your phone number.
if you well, they should have your phone number anyway, but if you fill it out in a PDF format and save it, you can look at that to see what you're sending to make sure that the votes are included correctly. So.
I see Kenneth has his hand up.
Oh, I should take it down. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Great. Well, maybe let's get started.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Yes. Hello. I'm actually calling from Canada because I am part of the Democrats Abroad delegation, and we are country committees that are throughout 190 countries, and we represent various of our constituents that live worldwide in various countries.
Mhm.
And our delegation, the size of it is a total number of 23. And of the 23, 15 pledged to sign for the, pledge on the platform. And 11 of us voted at the same time this morning, and everything went smoothly. We didn't have a problem, and each individual received confirmation where in the body of that confirmation, it specified all of our votes. So we were able to confirm that. So I just want to share that with the group.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. Now, if I could have everybody please mute yourselves. We would recommend that everyone please utilize the 3 dots on the screen on your picture to change your names to whether you are a delegate or not. You are welcome here. This is a safe and open space for everyone to participate, especially after an amazing day like today where we pledged and voted no, a majority of us voted no on the platform if it does not include Medicare for All. Amid one of the largest and deadliest pandemics where over 27 million of our population currently is not insured and have lost their insurance because they are unemployed. We welcome you here. We thank you for sharing your testimonies ahead of time. Almer, please take it away.
All right, well, welcome everybody. It's a shame to have everybody on mute, but I guess that's what we got to do. Sometimes it's nice to do a little call and response on Zoom even, but you know what? We just can't make that work. But as Haniye was saying, today's a peculiar kind of day. We really did an amazing job this morning, and for the East Coast is really afternoon. Also, we online we were starting to trend nationwide with our hashtags. We got everything done right. We had tons of ballots flowing in. We had just an amazing number of posts going out there, some stuff going viral, and really great videos, and getting the name of Medicare for All out there. But you know what? Sometimes shit happens, and you have to learn how to roll with it. And we got dumped on us today the selection of Kamala Harris as for the vice presidential nominee. And I think I was going to talk a little bit more about Medicare for All, but I think we'll get to that. But if you're on this call, I think you're probably well educated on it. So let's talk a little bit about the ramifications for Medicare for All and activism when it comes to Kamala Harris. You know, I'm the chair of the Progressive Caucus here in California, and you know, Kamala Harris is a California senator, and we're very familiar with her from her Senate run, from the DA's race just down I-80 from me in Sacramento to SF, and her Senate race and DA. So she's a, you know, very familiar candidate. And what we know is that she's also a bit of a weather vane politician, is that, you know, she started out in her career. And let's be frank, there weren't a lot of options for Black women starting out. If you weren't pro law enforcement, if you weren't a moderate, it was tough to find space. You know, some folks did, like Barbara Lee and Karen Bass, but we should at least afford, you know, the idea that, you know, some folks took a path that wasn't very progressive. But what we're looking for is where you are now. You know, we don't penalize everybody for every single thing they've done. And believe me, there's plenty to criticize Kamala Harris on with regarding to law enforcement. And even for my own faith-based community, the Sikh community, she was on the wrong side of some pretty tough litigation decisions where she forced Sikhs to choose between their job and their faith. So there's plenty to criticize, but when we talk about weather vane politicians, there's also a positive side there, is that they tend to put their finger in the wind, figure out which way the wind is blowing, and then try to lead in the direction it's already going. And what that means about Kamala Harris is that she is prone to pressure. And we actually saw a little bit of that when she kicked off in Oakland. She had that amazing kickoff, and she talked about Medicare for all. She talked about the Green New Deal. She talked about incarceration. And we know that within days, she backtracked because of pressure on those issues. She said at one point that, you know, she wanted to get rid of insurance companies, and then she backtracked. And yes, all of that is negative. But what it also means is that she's susceptible to pressure. And what we got to realize is that overall, regardless of her selection today, our project has not changed. If you asked me a couple of weeks ago, what was our plan? It is, you know, we're going to continue to work on Medicare for all. We're going to, you know, have Biden, a centrist, maybe a conservative at the top of the ticket. And then we're going to have a woman of color on the ticket also. And we're going to push to get rid of Trump. We're going, as a Democrat, I'm going to push to elect the Democrat nominee. And then we're going to engage in the largest ever and most aggressive and progressive mobilization in the history of the United States to get things passed, because we are at a point of no return, whether it comes to Medicare for all or Green New Deal or the incarceration state or a militaristic foreign policy. All of those things have to be changed now and immediately, regardless of who we elected, regardless of of what Congress looks like, what the Senate looks like. That mobilization task ahead of us hasn't changed after today. Mm-hmm. So so we're still on that path, and I choose to be positive that we have more progressives in Congress than we have ever before. We got Jamal Bowman, we got Cory Bush, we have more on deck. We have a better advocacy program. Look at the Zooms we have today and across the nation, better than ever before. We have all these folks who are refusing to knuckle under, and they are saying that we're going to vote against the platform, which is something that hasn't happened before. So I choose to be positive. And I still think we can get there because the people are with us. Majority of Americans, a vast majority of Democrats support this idea of Medicare for all. So I'm still positive, even on a day like today. But getting back to the idea of Medicare for all, if I got a couple of minutes, I want to talk about some of the things that maybe we don't talk about regarding Medicare for all. I mean, we know that in a healthcare pandemic, millions of people out of work, that means millions of people who have difficulty accessing healthcare. But the whole idea of shackling your job to your healthcare means that every time your job is at risk, your healthcare is at risk. And there's this idea right now across the country of parents, especially, that have this impossible choice. On the one hand, continue to go to work, risk your own life, keep your healthcare, which will keep your family safe, or stay at home, be with your kids, keep them out of schools, so keep them safe, but potentially lose your healthcare. And I think that's a mobilizing point that we can talk about more, about the impossibility of these positions, that we put frontline workers in, we put parents in, we put healthcare providers in, and that the system, whether it's Democrat or whether it's Republican, whether it's Biden or whether it's Trump, we put these impossible positions and burdens on the people that are out there on the front lines. And that's an area we can expose, that Medicare for all is a solution to these impossible choices. And I'd love to hear more about that as other people talk, and maybe we get questions. So finally, I close with just saying, this task we have, this organizing task, we need to continue to develop allies. You look in your community. This isn't a Medicare for all silo. Look at Sunrise, look at Black Lives Matter, look at March for Our Lives, look at where the energy is in your community, which organizations are growing. Go to their events, build allies there, invite them to yours, because in just a few months, all of us, all these organizations are going to have to work together. And the more diverse your network is, the greater your connections are locally. The more you can rely on folks to show up at your congressional offices for all of these issues, the better our organizing is going to be. The better we will be in DC when you have strong connections locally. That's what we found here in the California Democratic Party. We, on the issue of law enforcement money in the party a couple of weeks ago, we had all the different chairs joining in because the chairs of these different caucuses within the party realize that it's an issue that affects us all. And now we can call on each other on different issues. And I think that's the model that maybe we don't talk about enough, that it's not just Medicare for all, it's everything and all the organizing together. And hopefully this weekend, you folks are signed up for the People's Assembly, and we'll get there and continue to build those relationships. And finally, we talked about ballots. If you haven't submitted your ballots, please get those ballots in right away. But that's it. Thank you all for organizing solidarity all day long.
Thank you, Amr, for being a champion for Medicare for all and at the forefront of the progressive movement, fighting for us, especially communities in need. We're going to do things a little bit different here on this call. I know that there have been plenty of calls where we have a lineup of speakers speaking about issues in terms of the progressive movement. But what we want to do here today is to open it up for testimonials from our participants, from some of the familiar faces that we see here who have been champions for Medicare for all for years, from our delegation who decided to and chose to vote no on the platform language if it does not include Medicare for all. But the way to do that, and when I said I want to mute everybody is so that our amazing speaker won't have any interruptions while he speaks. But what we will do is use the participants tab to raise our hands today and share the testimonials that way. And what I will do is I'll call on anybody that has their hands up, and we just want to get a better understanding of why you chose to vote no on the platform language if you are a delegate. And for our champions, our doctors and nurses, we want to hear what you have to say about what we need to do next, right? So Gina Harris, I see your hand up. Go ahead.
Sorry, yeah, I just wanted to jump because I'm probably going to have to, I'm still working. But I wanted to share why I wanted to vote no today, because actually today been a very exhausting day for me, all circling around Medicare. What I do is Medicare Advantage right now. And so right now, as we speak, I am trying to find a way to get a patient $65 copay so that they can have medication. This medication cannot be altered. I cannot waive the copay. They just can't afford the $65 for whatever reason. And I don't judge because of that, but I can't discharge this patient from the hospital. And then I also can't, I just can't go in my pocket and give them $65. So now what am I going to do? And this is what is the problem with the current healthcare system. So $65 is holding this patient in the hospital, costing thousands a day. You see what I'm saying? And so the fact that we can't get this through the thick skulls of our political elite is just nothing but insulting to my intelligence at this point. I don't think that it is any longer a conversation about how does it work, or how do we pay for it, or anything. It is literally a out of touch, I just don't give a damn because I'm insured. And we can't have that type of thinking in our party. We have to think about more than just ourselves. So that's the reason why I voted no, because as of right now, I am literally fighting this current despicable healthcare system, trying to get someone a $65 copay covered. Meanwhile, letting them sit on the hospital spending thousands of dollars. What sense does that make? It does not make any sense. I mean, if you really want to talk about it, healthier people are more productive people. And don't these little greedy ass corporations want more productive people? So point blank, I think it's a win-win for everybody if they would just let it happen. And I'm from California, CD 37 is.
Thank you. Thank you, Gina. Gina is a familiar face, and she has been at the forefront of her advocacy for Medicare for All. Now, the event that we are hosting, and thank you, Stephen Gibson, for putting this together, and Lauren, who is taking care of our tech today. We are hosting a number of events coming up today, as well as August 15 and August 16. For those of you who are not delegates, unfortunately this year due to the pandemic, we were not able to participate at the convention physically. So we have created these programs which allow us to raise our voices with one another and again, and have a dialogue about some of the issues that matter to our communities. One of the events that's currently happening right now is an event, it's a caravan that's hosted by one of our, and put together, organized by one of our delegates. And it is a driving around effort around Disneyland on Harbor Boulevard, Kitela, Disneyland Drive, and Ball Road. And I'll read this from the message that Lindsay sent me herself, who's the organizer. She's also a congressional district delegate. Her messaging is, let's take a stand against corporate greed by driving in solidarity around this symbolic economic engine of Southern California. Because until we have just healthcare, we will have dire inequities that disproportionately affect people of color and our working class, right? She will be calling in soon to kind of give us an update on how her event is going, but let's move over to Jerry Shepard with her testimony, please. Jerry, you're muted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I won't be long, but I just wanted to let you know I was very troubled when the platform committee declined to pass even compromise positions on Medicare for all. But we need it in order to survive, because insurance company healthcare is nothing more than just the embodiment of greed and the embodiment of poor health. We should also note that the platform also fails to have a provision for cannabis. Our Colorado platform people, Dennis Obdesky and Terry Tucker, fought mightily to get good provisions, and Dennis sponsored the cannabis amendment that failed, unfortunately. So we have a lot of work to do to encourage them to do the right thing. So thank you all for everything you do. In Colorado, we are in solidarity, and that's it. Thank you.
And Jerry, are you yourself a congressional district delegate at large or a PLEO?
I am a DNC member who was a Bernie delegate in 2016. I got elected and re-elected to the DNC. I did vote for Bernie today, but I'm actually an automatic delegate. And
well, it's an honor to have you here. So thank you.
Well, thank you all.
Testimonial.
Thank you all very
Absolutely.
much.
Onward. Joanne, I see your hand up.
That's Joan.
Joan.
If you're calling on me and you can hear me okay.
I can hear you. Yes.
I'm a retired nurse. I was never politically active, but I have wanted universal health care since early in my career as a nurse. And it only got worse over time, because when I started being a nurse, it was not for profit. Those were the days. But then when Nixon was president, things changed, because now things could be for profit, including the hospital that I worked at. We had to collect all kinds of tags on every little item we used and make sure that they were put in the right spot so the bill could be as padded as possible. When I left the hospital to work in home care, I got to go to people's houses and see how health insurances like to say no to things that were justifiable in then made blood pressure monitor for a 50-year-old who had a 10-year-old son and had just gotten out of ICU from having a stroke. No, they were not going to buy her a blood pressure monitor. So I did out of my money. It got so bad after a few years, I started a charitable fund in the county that I worked in, and I spoke at churches and begged for money. And I started a program with Catholic Charities where I could call up and say, give a certificate for this much credit at the health equipment store to this person. So never again did I have a home care patient that couldn't get what they needed. But I can't be a nurse that goes to every county in the United States and starts a charitable fund. This can't be charity anymore. And the point that is burning its way into my brain today is, if Joe Biden wants to fight for the soul of America, let's start with all the so-called Christians that have their health care, and so they don't care who gets kicked to the curb. Jesus said, heal the sick. I've tried to do that my whole life. I'm going to start choking up because I'm a weepy old French woman. But this has been my lifelong struggle. And if you don't get a universal health care at this point in history, and when? Because I think more people than ever in the United States realize we are our brother's keeper, or we are all screwed. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan, for sharing that heartfelt testimony. We do know that Medicare would be, or lack of Medicare disproportionately impacts communities of color. We've seen that in this pandemic. And
absolutely.
Yeah, and we've also, what we've seen also is the racial injustices, especially now with this pandemic, and how that's now being exposed, in our country. So I do see a familiar face here that I want to call upon, Dr. Bill Honigman, and I also see Ron under his mask, whom I will call on later. But Linda, after your testimony, we'll go to Dr. Bill and Ron both here, because we talk about the problems here, but we also want to hear from some of our experts who've dedicated their long life journey to making sure that Medicare for All is again at the forefront of our conversation and our movement. I want to hear their thoughts. I want to hear what they would see happening moving forward for us who support Medicare for All 100%. So Linda, go ahead, and then Dr. Bill, and then Ron after.
Thank you. My name is Linda Gravel. I'm a Bernie delegate from the great state of Vermont. Woo! Yeah, go Bernie.
Go Bernie.
I have been a volunteer for Bernie for 3 election cycles. I think it has become obvious with the coronavirus that separation of job from your health insurance is what Bernie's been talking about for years and years. His message has not changed for the past 40 years, by the way. And but I think we should also look at the fact that small businesses are hurt. They cannot be as competitive with large corporate businesses when it comes to healthcare. And if we separated small businesses so they would not have to give the benefit of healthcare that it came through Medicare for All, that they would make small businesses as well very competitive, much more than they are now against large corporate entities. So that's what I wanted to add to the discussion here. Thank you very much, and go Bernie.
Thank you, Linda. Dr. Bill, please unmute yourself. Thank you for joining us today. We talked about the problems that arise without Medicare for all. Let's talk about some of the solution and what we can do moving forward to ensure that Biden listens to our message, because he's been hard of hearing so far in terms of what we want, right? So let's talk about what we need to do to get him to light a fire under him, for lack of a better term.
Well, yeah, we were just talking about that in the chat too, and you know, the whole VP choice thing. I tend to agree with Amar that you know, Kamala Harris is not the worst. There are probably much worse choices Biden could have made. Hopefully it doesn't at least hurt Biden's chance of beating Donald Trump. But like say Tim Kaine probably did with Hillary Clinton. But what we want to do is to motivate people to turn out to vote. We need people to really want to get out and vote for something, not just against something. And so that's what Medicare for All, that's what the Green New Deal offers to people, is that kind of motivation. And you don't have to look any further than COVID-19 as this giant wake-up call, like Linda was just saying. COVID-19 is a wake-up call for both Medicare for All and the Green New Deal, because, and that's why, frankly, Medicare for All is part of the Green New Deal. It's because we expect more pandemics to come as global temperatures continue to rise. That's why this is a novel virus, a novel coronavirus. It's new because, and has not been seen before on this planet because of global temperatures rising. So climate scientists all predict more pandemics, more toxic exposures, more traumatic events, climate events that will displace people. And the only way to be prepared for all of those public health emergencies is Medicare for All. We need a public health system, not a public-private, certainly not private, commercial market-based insurance, making those priorities on how we allocate resources, testing, contact tracing, treatments, personal protective equipment. That should be us, we the people, deciding where those things are allocated. That's why we have disparities in those so-called healthcare deserts, and especially among in communities of color. So that's been traditionally neglected and now hugely magnified by COVID-19. So frankly, I think the discussion, I mean, it's, we're having worked on this all my life, Hania, thank you for pointing that out, that I'm old, so I've been doing this a long time, but older than dirt, I might say. But anyhow, is that apparently it's not enough to have 118 co-sponsors for the legislation in Congress, in the House. It's not enough to have 88% of Democrats nationwide on board for Medicare for All. We need to push it to 98% of Democrats, if that's what it's going to take to push this through. So I think we do it on three fronts. You asked me to talk about what do we actually do. So we do it on three fronts right now. We do it with that legislation in the House of Representatives, all three bills actually. HR 1384, which is the gold standard Medicare for All bill of Pramila Jayapal and Bernie Sanders. Also HR 5010, which would allow the states to move forward with their own single payer system. And then HR 6906, which is the Healthcare Emergency Guarantee Act that Bernie and Pramila came up with, which would give Medicare funding to all of the uninsured and underinsured across the country. So there's legislation, there's moving inside the Democratic Party the way we are with this no vote on the platform. Thank you, fellow delegates who did vote no on that platform and helped move me to do the same today. I appreciate that solidarity and that effort. And then finally, supporting candidates, both candidates who are in office already and looking to get reelected, but especially those challengers who have come up and are running on Medicare for All as a local issue, as for the extremely beneficial side of Medicare for All at the local level, because it will save money through cities, counties, schools, districts, will save money that can be applied to all those conditions of need in those public agencies, as well as, of course, make happier and healthier communities. So those are the three fronts I think we need to keep working vigilantly at. And thanks so much, everybody, for being a part of that movement.
Absolutely, Dr. Bill. Thank you. Now, this question is going to be for Ron, and then I do want to take a moment and introduce Delegate Gus Newport as well, who's joined us on this call. But Ron, based on a study that I did for Medicare for All, and just so everybody knows, Dr. Bill and I just passed the resolution through the Democratic Party of Orange County on Medicare for All, which passed without any opposition. So we're very happy about that. But according to a February 15, 2020, Ron, study by the epidemiologist at Yale University, the Medicare for All bill, authored by US Senator Bernie Sanders, which also proposes a single payer system of universal health care, would save over $458 billion in health expenditure and prevent 68,500 plus unnecessary death each and every year in this country. Tell us a little bit about, and I know this is a very broad question, but tell us where that saving would come from.
It's a great question. And it's important to emphasize that when, I assume everybody on this call here is an advocate, and every so often we fall into, a certain mistake in our rhetoric, I think, which is to say, people will say things like, well, we can afford all this, endless wars and things like that, and why can't we just take that money and do healthcare? But it's actually, if we did it Medicare for All, we would spend less on healthcare, not more, and in fact have more money. I wouldn't say to fight wars, but to do the types of social investments which have been the emphasis of the Black Lives Matter movement recently, right? Like investing in housing, education, the social determinants of health. But you asked me the question so I just love the question. Then the question is, well, wait, if you're actually covering everybody better and more people, that sounds like it should cost more money, right? like it sounds like, because usually more and better costs more. Mm-hmm. And it just turns out that that's not the case. And the Yale study that you brought out, but a whole slew of other studies have shown that same finding again and again. And not just sort of theoretical economic studies, but also all the countries in the world that have systems like Medicare for All type systems like Bernie's bill, they spend less than we do, not more. Mm-hmm. So where does that come from? So one is, it's a number of big areas. So one is the incredible inefficiency of the multi-payer system, mm-hmm. right? So all of the effort that it takes to pay billing and when you have many different possible people that you have to send bills to, that's one big thing. So another big thing is that all of a lot of the for-profit interests, including the insurance interests, they essentially just take big cuts out of our system. So when you look, and that's sort of called overhead, but we have enormous overhead. So one of the ironies of kind of commons or political rhetoric on this is that isn't the private sector supposed to be very super efficient and government is supposed to be inefficient? But it turns out that the Medicare's spends a few percent on administration and overhead, whereas the insurance companies, their overheads often the Affordable Care Act tries to force them to keep it down to 15%, 5 times that amount, and doesn't always succeed. That huge pile of money that goes to profits, that goes to excess pharma profits, it goes to outsized CEOs' salaries, it goes to all of like the kinds of waste that Gina was talking about earlier, those are all saved in these in a Medicare for all system. There's actually more answers, and I don't want to like, you know, and that study's a good place, but those are some of the big ones. So Medicare for all saves money and it covers everybody. And does it better.
And what I want to do essentially on this call after we hear from Cheng Sim, Betty, and Dr. Gus Newport, who's a former mayor of Berkeley and a civil rights activist, I do want to come back to our expert and our nurses and doctors here to talk about the pricing and the drug negotiation also under Medicare for All, and how that would obviously be impacted if we did have a single payer healthcare system in this country. Cheng Sim, my partner in crime, unmute yourself, please.
Thank you, Hanye. Thank you to everybody who's spoken, and I agree with a lot of what has been said, but I'm really pissed off. There are days when I'm more pissed off or less pissed off with the Democratic Party. And although everything that happened today was anticipated, was expected, it still pissed me off. And I have to say, you know, like Ron was saying, there's no financial argument against adopting Medicare for all. It saves money. There is no social argument against Medicare for all. You know, there is no, I mean, there's no moral argument against Medicare for all. And increasingly, there is no political argument against Medicare for all, because the polls keep showing more and more people, you know, super majorities of Democrats support Medicare for all, and a majority of, you know, Republicans now. So a majority of the electorate support Medicare for all. There is no reason that, you know, no good reason to block Medicare for all. What's blocking Medicare for all, I'm afraid, is the party leadership. So it's a political problem for us. What do we do? You know, I don't have any special answers. All I know is I'm really pissed off at the party leadership.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Pelosi's blocking in the House. I agree with Dr. Bill. You know, this Jayapal bill is great. Bernie's bill is great. Harder to get it to the Senate, but in the House, there's majority representatives. You know, have, you know, at least on paper, say that they support Jayapal's bill. So all of this is just where I know, all I see is where is the block? The block is not anywhere but with the top party leadership. And I feel like, you know, I mean, we can't do anything at this point but try to push in ways, you know, that are feasible until hopefully after the election. But after the election, hopefully it is, you know, not Trump. I feel that at that point, the real hard work begins, because we really have to fight the party leadership at that time and really push it through. And that's on the, you know, national level. On the California, at the state level, I think we have a window. Betty is here and she can probably speak, you know, more about this, but, you know, there are plans afoot to write a new bill, a new single payer bill. For California that combines the best aspects of Jayapal's bill with the best aspects of SB 562, which again was blocked by the, you know, party leadership in California. So I see, you know, that our enemy with Medicare for all now is the party, it's the Democratic Party leadership.
Agreed.
And I think we need to be blunt about it. We need to see it clearly, and we need to strategize, and we need to go hard. I don't think it's time for delay of persuasion, because that means more death, more suffering. That's how I feel today.
Thank you, Cheng. I think almost all of us here on this call who are champions for Medicare for All and advocates of Medicare for All feel the same way. So thank you for talking about your the solution on the call. Betty, take it away, please.
Hi, thank you very much. Betty Dumas Toto from Healthcare for All Los Angeles. part of Healthcare for All California statewide organization with chapters all over California. Thank you, Cheng Sing, because you know, she actually vocalized a lot of what I was going to say. Yes, the thing is that, you know, you know, the argument of how we're going to pay for it is out the window as far as I'm concerned. And we can talk to the fact that we have that employer-based insurance that is tied to your job. And now people are out of work and out of their insurance and cannot afford any of these COBRA payments or any of even the covered California payments to purchase any kind of insurance on any level. It's out of the window now because we have two intersecting pandemics. We have the COVID pandemic and we have the civil uprising for civil rights, because our system right now is based on systemic racism, period. Period. And anybody that is one of our legislators that can come up and say to us, we can't do it now because we're at a deficit. We can't do it now because we don't have the money. In fact, we know we have the money. We always have had the money, and this will save money. Single payer will save money. Medicare for all by single payer will save money, period. So in answer to those legislators that will hem and haw, and they will talk about the deficit in California in particular, we need to just tell them and talk to them in respects to this is a civil rights issue. This is rights for that are, you know, people are displaced out of the system. As one of my friends says, that it's an apartheid system. And Patrice Cullors has talked about and has really inspired me by saying we need to build an economy of care. An economy of care. And let that sit with you, because an economy of care is Medicare for all. Many other things inclusive, but our health is our community health. And we need to tell these legislators that I'm pissed off with at Changsam. I'm pissed off that no, I'm not going to hear about your fiscal questioning of this. We're going to talk about an economy of care that we need to build, and we are in the middle of a pandemic, and we need to take care of our people, and hopefully we could do it right here in California. But there you go.
Thank you. Thank you, Betty. Speaking of civil rights, we do have Dr. Gus Newport here on the call, who used to be, it was a former mayor of Berkeley, and also marched with Malcolm X. And we welcome you here on this call, Gus. And I just wanted to ask you, we will be talking about this on the People's Budget panel on the 16th with Dr. Melina Abdullah. But what I want to know is, how does cutting the budget, and I want your opinion on this as a mayor, how does cutting the budget that goes towards policing the community, how could that impact the communities? And spending that money in social programs that are much needed, especially with the marginalized communities. Could you touch upon that a little bit for us? If you could unmute, please. Can we unmute Gus Lauren, please?
Okay, here I am. Thank you for allowing me to be here with you all, and I'm very pleased with the information that I'm hearing from people like Dr. Bill and others who've given us facts from a medical standpoint, cost analysis, etc., whatever else. I just want you to know, Dr. Bill, I may be as old or older than you. I'm 85 years old. My granddaughter says I'm 4 years older than baseball. You mentioned you were older than dirt, so but anyway, I bring love and understanding and everything else. I want to just say a little bit first about the political analysis. I was one of Bernie Sanders' 8 appointees to the Unity Reform Commission in 2017. I never got so sickened by recognizing what the history of the Democrat Party was and is. You know, the Democrat Party was founded as the Dixiecrats. Could not get them to change super delegates. I mean, they now changed to they don't get a vote on the first time, the Electoral College and things like that. And so I, as a person whose great grandmother was a slave, very sick and when I see the continuation of this kind of stuff. Getting back to the police and I reorganized the police department in Berkeley. I was mayor and I had been on the police review commission before I was elected mayor, both in Berkeley and in Rochester, New York, where I grew up, the second police review commission in the country. What we did is we first got rid of the police being able to use helicopters, tear gas, things like that. We got an understanding from post, police officers something training, that even works with the FBI, that looks at what kind of application you have to have with police on the ground. For instance, crime is higher between midnight and 6 in the morning. So you place more there because that's when robberies take place. And then from 6 to 4 or 5, you do another kind of thing. We took all police off desk job because police get higher insurance because of the job that they have to do. And we put all civilian people on desk jobs within the police department. We also began to do an analysis on what it would mean if we had better health care for all. But we hired mental health people to work the streets with police and in the cars and whatever else. Because when I was mayor, 79 to 86, that's when Ronald Reagan closed the mental health institutes. And all the mental health people started coming to Berkeley and San Francisco. And that's when homelessness really became big. So what we did is we engaged the homeless people. We bought some yellow school buses and put them on our marina and put porta potties in them to pay for them to sleep. We put portable showers outside and we got them all mail post office boxes so they could apply for SSI. I gave them the use of my conference room daily because you can't make changes from a community standpoint unless you engage the very people who are suffering vision. Everybody seems to create public policy for, nobody creates public policy with people who are the victims of it, et cetera, whatever else. And so there's a lot of reasons why I show greater jobs, and the fact that we are 43rd in the world in literacy and education right now, the United States of America, 72nd in healthcare. Little old Cuba, as poor as it is a 0.1% literacy rate. And yet still, you know, because of things gone by in our history and our politics and everything else. So I'm extremely disturbed with the Democrat Party. And, you know, our job is we got to get rid of Trump. We got to vote for Biden, but we got to begin campaigning immediately after that. What we're going to do in 24 or 2004. And we've got to fight for healthcare, Medicare for all, et cetera, whatever. I mean, in this pandemic era, when it's been revealed that people of color, especially Blacks and Latinos, what our lack of healthcare is, and that's why our numbers are so much higher, et cetera, whatever else. But the poor, the homeless, I mean, you name it. Native Americans, we don't even have data on them yet, et cetera, whatever else. This is critical, it's cruel, it's unbelievable that the Democrat Party in this day and age would not take a vote for Medicare for all, for single payer, and all the necessary vital things. And as has been said by Dr. Bill and others, and Dr. Ron, they have the analysis that it would be more cost effective. Western Europe has this in all of its countries, et cetera, or whatever else. What is it we can't learn? Is capitalism so great and commanding? And I have to say yes, because even we got the bailout bill, Trump and them made sure that most of that money went to millionaires and billionaires and people like that, not to the small business people who should have got the $600 a week, et cetera, whatever else. We've got to keep on hammering. We've got to educate more people, even those people who are semi-illiterate, racist because of where they come from or whatever else. They're all our brothers and sisters and citizens. We've got to show them what would be better for them. Medicare for all. Let's go for it. Thank you. I love you all.
Thank you, Dr. Newport. And Dr. Newport and I will be sharing the Zoom stage with Dr. Melina Abdullah, who's the co-founder of Black Lives Matter Los Angeles on the 16th. So please, everybody, join us for that conversation. And we also have Mayor Kat Brooks of Berkeley joining us to discuss the People's Budget. On that day, we'll share the information with you all. So the Medicare for All Act, which was introduced by Jayapal, includes a key provision modeled after the Medicare Negotiation and Competitive Licensing Act, which would lower the drug prices for all Americans and allow the government to negotiate those prices with the corporations. Dr. Bill, Dr. Ron, and I want to also open this up for our nurses who are on this call to please raise your hands to share your stories as well. I can't tell who here is a nurse or not, but I would love to hear from you all as well. Other than Gina, I see the smile. But Dr. Bill and Ron, if you could touch upon that, or anybody else that could touch upon the negotiation of drug prices, we'd love to hear from you. And I see Gina's hand, so ladies go first. Sorry, gentlemen.
No, it's okay. The reason why I wanted to jump in on this is because I literally am doing this right now. Back to the dude with the $65 copay. For my healthcare professionals, I'm trying to fill PO Vanco, which is a vancomycin, a bad booty antibiotic. It's a pill, and it is ungodly expensive. So even with this is going into the Medicare negotiation. So this is a 10-day supply. It's 10 days. It's given 4 times a day, so I need 40 pills. Now, I think retail, no insurance, I'm looking at about, I think, $2,000. I think that was what I saw. Yeah. And if you go to, like, let's say if I had like a PPO plan and I could use a discount card or use GoodRx or something like that, then that brings me down to about $345. And so I'll be honest, $345, if I were in that hospital bed right now, I would be kind of clenching and might be checking my credit card statements if I know I have to pay out $345 to get my medication right now. And so with Medicare, which the patient I'm discussing has, with Medicare, it is $65 copay. And so that just lets you know this is where the negotiations happen. So $65 is the Medicare price. And that is in this today for a patient that is elderly or disabled or just, maybe not working at all and getting maybe a little pension money, living in the state of California, which we know is god awful expensive. Even the Medicare CMS negotiated rates are still too high. And still, like, I'm sure in Canada, I don't know, in Canada, I'm pretty sure that this is a lot cheaper than $65. So that still needs to be worked out within Medicare, our negotiated drug prices. Is it cheaper than retail and what someone would pay with a normal PPO commercial plan? Yes. But is it still too expensive for our vulnerable population, and that's who's on Medicare? Hell yes. So we have to keep pushing this because Medicare for all, and I keep telling people this, I cannot fully get on board with Medicare for all if we were to roll it out as it is right now. Why? Because there are holes within Medicare that are about Grand Canyon wide. So we would have to have a Medicaid baby. Because Medicaid fills in those holes that Medicare has, but it's just that you can't qualify for the shit. So, that's where I would be like, so Medicare for all is truly Medicare and Medicaid for those who are not in California, or Medi-Cal, having a really pretty baby, kind of like Hanya's son, just so pretty. You just want to sit there and be like, oh, you're so pretty. And that's what this is. So that's what we need, truthfully. And SB 562 did address a lot of that. And I think HR 1384, am I right? Mm-hmm. Addresses this too, but still little holes. So yeah, I just wanted to share that, the God honest truth.
And speaking of credit cards, Gina, the high cost of healthcare and medical bills have become the #1 reason for bankruptcies in this country, with almost about 75% of those total bankruptcies having occurred among the people who just don't have the right health insurance.
I'm still paying I had surgery last February. My portion of this surgery, granted, I spent, due to some issues, my total bill is about 75 grand because I had to stay in the hospital, but I'm paying back about 3,000 of that. And trust me, I put that shit on a payment plan. So, you know, just keeping it real. Don't be ashamed to utilize the payment plans. But yeah, that's just the reality of it. Nobody can afford to these god awful, ridiculous negotiated rates.
I know Dr. Bill also wants to add on to that, and then we'll go to Ron. But let's also talk about what that drug negotiation would look like for us.
Me next?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. So, yeah, I don't know if I mentioned this group. I'm a retired emergency room doctor, and so I have a couple of examples from my practice, but I would like to go back to COVID-19 and what an incredible wake-up call this is, and not just in terms of big insurance directing and allocating resources, but big pharma as well, and they're at least as culpable. And big pharma up until COVID-19 had been the lowest hanging fruit. I mean, even Republicans were on board for lowering pharmaceutical prices. And you know, but when it came out, now we're starting to see a really egregious billing practices, both from big insurance and big pharma during COVID-19. That's going to make them both the pariahs of healthcare and really move the discussion to absolutely get rid of commercial insurance and to reform at least a big pharma in the way it operates in this country. I mean, to say that it's corporate welfare, you know, where we're actually supporting an industrial sector of the economy, big pharma, just like subsidies for, I don't know, corn prices or something. We have our wallets open to these crooks, these big pharma crooks, and we're just saying, here, take all our money. And it's really worse than that. It's actually a mafia business model. It is extortion. Big pharma is telling us, we're not pricing our product based on what it costs us to produce it, or to sell it, or market it. We're basing the price on what it's worth to you and your life, or the life of your child. And I'll give the best example I know of that is the EpiPen. I mean, there's exotic drugs for cancer, for, you know, exotic infections and antibiotics, but the EpiPen, epinephrine, has been around forever, right? It's adrenaline, and they knew how to extract that from cows and pigs for hundreds of years. I mean, there's Sherlock Holmes stories about injecting adrenaline into somebody and they suddenly wake up, right? So, I mean, it's a generic, naturally occurring compound. What do you think that should cost? You know, I can tell you what it does cost. It costs about $350 a dose for an EpiPen. The pen itself, I would say, you know, the adrenaline in the EpiPen, I would give it maybe 10 cents for a dose. Okay, let's say 25 cents. That fancy injector pen probably costs them about $1 to produce that thing. And then if they want to market it, I'll give them $5 or $10. They're charging $350 for one EpiPen, and they make you buy 2 at a time. And the shelf life of a liquid medication is only a few months. That, you know, they expire. That means they lose their potency after a few months as a liquid. So that means there's planned obsolescence built in, where you have to keep buying this obscenely overpriced product. But what is the life of your child with severe allergies worth to you? Is it worth that $350 per dose? You are probably going to shell out that money. It's Americans. We are the suckers. We are the victims, allowing ourselves to be victimized by these parasites that is big pharma. And even the Republicans are on board for reducing those prices, at least to VA level. And VA is very comparable to other countries, but it could be even lower than that if we, the people, stand up and say we're not going to take it anymore. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Bill. Ron.
Yeah. So much to think about here, but you know, I was looking up the medicine that Gina was mentioning, vancomycin, oral vancomycin, which is a generic drug, right? So when you look at drugs, you have the ones that are like on patent still, and then you have the generic ones. And yes, I believe right now Medicare itself could be negotiating harder with the drug companies on prices, and that they are held back by corporate pharmaceutical interests and their political activities with people in the government. So already Medicare could be doing more of that. And so could that be the same problem in a Medicare for all system? Yes, it theoretically could. But once there's only one buyer in town, that adds more market power there, and that will be a stronger position. But there's, you know, Medicare for all is important both because of what it does, but for what it clarifies, you know. And so, for example, we have incredible shortages of nurses and physicians, particularly taking care of the poorest people who are out there. And so what we have in our system is because it's unequal, we ration by ability to pay, and some people face those shortages and others don't. Medicare for all would expose a lot of that, and it doesn't mean there isn't still more work to do to train more doctors. And I want to bring that to the problem of drug prices. And one of the big problems with drug prices, and then Bill was getting into that, is too much concentrated market power in either monopolists or oligopolists. And that is an area of progressive policy that I would like to see our movement take more seriously. And related to that, I put in this background around me, and I'll hide myself so you see it better. There's an event we're doing for Ro Khanna this weekend, but I want to kind of explain it because it's related. So Zephyr Teachout is a politician from New York State, which some people here will be familiar with. She's one of the leading thinkers on sort of modern progressive antitrust theory, which is, to put it in English, is break them up. And when you look at why prices are high, and the problem with the EpiPens is monopoly power there. And with a bunch of the drugs that I have to deal with, it's essentially price fixing between small numbers of generic manufacturers. And so we need a new sort of more robust kind of break them up mentality antitrust movement in the United States. And what's very exciting to me is this book that Zephyr Teachout just wrote really spells it out very well. But people here who love Ro Khanna, who's been, you know, the guy we've been rallying behind, may not know that he is the founding co-chair of the House Antitrust Caucus. All right. He is somebody who gets this at a very sophisticated level. And I really want to urge people both to come to this event, I'll put this stuff, but to really embrace, as if you're looking for new progressive directions, where can I take this energy? One of them is that, and this goes way beyond just drug prices, because it involves tech stuff, it involves environmental stuff, is we need a new, almost like end of 19th century vision of breaking up the big concentrated economic interests that tyrannize us right now.
Every single thing that's been mentioned on this panel so far leads towards the benefits of Medicare for all and a single payer healthcare system. But the question that we continue to hear from the establishment is, well, how do we pay for it? How do we pay for it, right? Which has been explained extensively, not only on Bernie Sanders' website, but also in the bill, right? That he put forward. But what I want to do now is go to some of our nurses, and then I want to hear more from our delegates, because it's been a little bit quiet with the raising of hands. So I want to see more delegates talk about and give us testimonials on why they decided to vote no on the platform language if it doesn't include Medicare for all. Where are some of my nurses here? I see a familiar face, Susanna. Susanna Williams?
Oh my God, I'm multitasking. I'm in the middle of a text campaign.
Oh, okay.
I have 600 replies, but no, I posted something in the chat, just a little personal story. So I got into this whole fight because of the lack of healthcare. When I started volunteering for the Bernie Sanders campaign in 2016, I started meeting a lot of people that I wouldn't have ordinarily met, fellow activists. Bernie was what we had in common, and a desire to change the world. And I started getting a very clear picture, and I realized I had done something that I swore I never would. I swore I would never forget my roots. I grew up pretty poor in a rural part of California, and watched my mom write bad checks to feed us kids when I was younger, and before you would get thrown in jail for doing that sort of thing. And I, had a pretty successful career, and I kind of forgot where I came from. So talking to people that were trying to figure out how to get the medication for their babies, how to get a surgery, how to figure out a way, even if they had insurance, to get the insurance company to cover them, really opened up my eyes. And Medicare for All has been my sole reason for being involved in this. And then I just sort of got over involved. But just, it's not just medical, it's dental, it's vision. They're barely covered anymore. I personally have some of the best medical insurance that you can get. My husband's retired military. I have TRICARE. In the world today, that's pretty darn good insurance. And I still have to fight with them occasionally, but the dental is horrible. Right now, I'm actually considering, for real, going and hanging with a friend in Mexico and getting the work done there, because my share is ridiculous. And it's for something that's so stupid that was covered the last time. I've got a bridge that needs to be replaced, and then there was a fractured tooth, and it just became a whole brouhaha. So all of a sudden now the insurance companies are putting even more conditions on getting treatment, and dental care, poor dental care, can kill you. It's critical. So that's why I voted no. I've made it very clear in every conversation I've had with an elected official or somebody who wants to be an elected official that if you do not support Medicare for All, pure and simple, I will not support you. I will not donate money to you. I will not vote for you, and I will not volunteer for you. That is my personal line in the sand. So that's why I'm here. That's why I texted and posted as much as I could today, and why I very adamantly sent my no vote in. So that's kind of where I stand on the whole bit.
Well, thank you for your ongoing fight, Susanna. We appreciate you. Shirley Toy, one of our very own delegates, who happens to also be a nurse. Take it away.
I'm a nurse. I'm a union nurse, and obviously my union really educated me on life. And we're not involved in politics. The industry is so involved in politics, and that's why we have to get involved, because they have their lobbyists, they have all their people. And throughout my whole career, so many people delayed their care because they just didn't have the money. And sometimes it's for something really small. They wouldn't have the simple blood pressure medicine, something that's very not expensive, and then they can't afford that in the big scheme, and then they have to come into the hospital. I mean, we do things so backwards here. Instead of funding just a little bit of upfront, we want to fund way at the end and do everything in the last 3 weeks of their life. My mother, before the ACA happened, she was on Medicare and she didn't get Social Security, so she had to pay her Medicare bill. And she, she writes the bill and she writes this little letter that, how come the bill went up and I'm paying what I paid last year? And they dropped her like that. And I told her, oh my gosh, she had so many pre-existing conditions. She said, that's what I've been fighting for with this, you're not going to get health care. And I don't know how we got it back because I called my representative. We went to Social Security almost every week we had to kind of say she was incompetent. And then we put the payment on auto pay. But, that was before the ACA. And the fact that we only covered pre-existing conditions just a few years ago is mind-boggling, because everything, when you're alive, you have a pre-existing condition. And so the biggest thing I like to stress is that everyone is one illness away from losing their coverage, even if you have really good coverage. Because when you get sick, you can't work, and then you lose your coverage. And I've had nurses, who they couldn't work as a nurse. They've been working their whole life as a nurse, and then they get sick and they couldn't work and they lost their coverage. And it's just heartbreaking. I mean, it's inhumane. And, the movement is definitely growing, and we are going to win this event. We are going to win this. So, business wise, like I said, we're enabling this industry who's just trying to take all the money everywhere out of our businesses, out of our own pockets, and out of our lives. And we just have to, people are afraid of change, but when you tell them that you're at risk, and more and more they're going to have family members know that they've lost their care, or everybody has to, even if you're fighting your insurance company just to get your coverage. We just have to be out streets, and it is all interrelated with Black Lives Matter and our priorities of our funding and climate change.
Thank you, Shirley. I do see Francis's hand up. Please unmute yourself.
Hi, my name is Francis Lee, and I'm an at-large delegate from San Francisco, California. And I submitted my no vote on the platform today in support of Medicare for All. And I'll just add that I first got turned on to Bernie's campaign and to Medicare for All just after, in 2018, I lost both of my parents to a long decline in their health. And as their caregiver and financial trustee in their final years, I saw firsthand just how challenging and expensive it is, not just to live in this country, but, and I hope this doesn't make people uncomfortable for me to talk about this, but also to die in comfort and dignity in this country. Now, they were lucky. They had not only their Social Security and Medicare, but they had private long-term care insurance, as well as their own savings to help them stay in their home until the very end. And so one of the things that moved me so much and really, I think, highlights Bernie's compassion is the expansion of Medicare to also include long-term care. Right now, I would say that I truly feel for the potential pain and suffering that so many people may start to experience going into retirement, given the cost of healthcare, even with Social Security and Medicare. And seeing that initiative as part of Medicare for All, we're talking a lot about how we strengthen and make Medicare for All even better. I think it's going to be an incredible addition and something to keep fighting for.
Yeah.
And I'll just make one last comment. I'll step back and say that we're in the middle of not just a health crisis, but an economic crisis. And right now, millions of Americans are waiting with bated breath to find out if they're going to get another $1,200 stimulus check in the mail. And so just imagine what it would do to our economy to give the hundreds, if not thousands of dollars a month people are paying into their premiums and out-of-pocket costs back into their pockets to spend on their rent and their food and their living expenses. I myself pay over $1,000 a month for healthcare for my wife and myself. That is $1,000 a month, $12,000 a year, that because most people are not taking advantage of elective procedures and delaying their care because of the pandemic, right now, insurance companies are reporting record profits. Just to expose and highlight the really inhumane and grotesque inequality. Just last week, United Health Group announced that they will be issuing their quarterly dividend of $1.25 per share on the backs of their record profits, double their profits last year over the previous year. That will be, with over 900 million shares outstanding, probably around $1.2 billion into the pockets of Wall Street investors, rather than being put back into all of our care. Thank you.
Francis, you brought up so many incredibly important points in your testimony. Just recently, Trump also proposed a $740 billion budget for our military, which our VP pick for Biden voted, well, Senator Sanders introduced a bill to cut that by 10%. Kamala voted no on that. So that money that you could save from that 10%, and 10% is a very modest number, right? It's not even what Barbara Lee would have asked for, right? Because she's up there, up to 50. We on the platform language proposal said 30%, right? Imagine how many social programs that tiny cut, right, could support in our home country, in our backyard, right? And what I always say is that we're as weak as our weakest things in this country as a nation, right? And it's bad right now. So our fight is going to continue. It's going to be ongoing. It doesn't stop with the VP pick or, the platform, which most of us were disappointed in. So I want to hear from more of our delegates, but I also do want to hear from some of our non-delegates who've joined our call here on why they support Medicare for All. I see Christine. Chris, knock, knock.
I'm busy chatting here.
Can you tell us how, well, I don't want to ask you how you voted, but can you tell us why you've been such a...
Of course, I voted no on the platform. Of course, and I even posted it on Facebook.
No, I haven't done that yet, but...
I took my picture. I had a picture of myself holding the ballot, and then somebody mentioned, "Oh, you don't want to have your secret number visible." So I took my picture down. Anyway, everything everybody's been saying is just absolutely, true, and that's why I haven't been speaking. It's just that, I was saying, he said that. I was going to say, she said that. Okay, so I want to talk about the pharmaceutical companies and also how it's affecting small business owners like myself. What I mean, it being the stranglehold that health insurance companies have on our whole healthcare system. So my sister has rheumatoid arthritis, and she gets Orencia shots that are like, she's told $25,000 a shot. And or a treatment. Yeah, I see Dr. Birnbaum nodding his head. And in Mexico, the same treatment's only $300. And my sister only has to pay $1,000 as her copay. So without so if we had like public option, for example, it wouldn't be of any use really ultimately as far as the pharmaceutical companies go, because they can keep charging what they're charging. Then you have to have insurance to be able to afford it, or go to Mexico, And talking about Mexico, that's, my sister has always gone down to Mexico for all dental stuff. That's just the norm. And the last thing I was going to say was about how it's affecting small businesses. Somebody else also mentioned this, that it's really hurting our economy. It is absolutely ridiculous that you know, they're giving all the money actually to the big businesses. Small businesses, they're making small businesses jump through incredible hoops to get the money, and then to be able to, and then to keep the money, they basically can't keep the money. I mean, either way, they have to keep working. And so it's just, the playing field is completely, you know, unfair. And now it's even more unfair because we don't even have a hope in our VP. And okay, anyways, I have an LACDP meeting to go depress me more with now to get to.
Well, Chris, I think you touched upon my next question, or what would have been my next question to you as a business owner, as a small business owner. How does not having single payer healthcare system impacts our business owners, right? Especially the ones that are not, you know, larger corporations. But do we have anybody reporting, Lauren, from the caravans at Disneyland? I've been trying to reach out to Lindsay to see if she can give us a call.
Tanya, I'm here.
Okay,
and
okay. So Sudi, before you go on, Sudi Farrukhnia is also one of our delegates in Congressional District 45 from Orange County, California. So go ahead and please report back on what you see.
So we have a couple of media here, and they've been you know, videotaping it. So we're going to hopefully see more of this. I just had to get disconnected, but I'm trying to pull aside, and that way I would be able to, you know, come back in and have my camera on, so then you guys could see the caravan. So give me a few minutes when I can pull away, you know, on the side, and then be able to go live with, maybe you could see my video.
Beautiful. And can you tell us, okay, I think she's gone. Yeah. Any other non-delegates here would like to share up to 1 minute of their testimony, testimony, yeah, of why they support Medicare for All. And we are coming up to 6 o'clock, so we do want to wrap up once Sudi reports back from the caravans at Disneyland. And we do also want to share some of our upcoming events with you all, so you can all attend. But Michelle, you have your hand up?
Hey, you guys. So the reason that I support Medicare for All is when I was 18 years old, my father was on a drug that was banned in every 13 or 14 other countries that was manufactured in America. And we were the only country that allowed it through, and it killed him. It has since been banned here in America, but I remember the BBC coming to interview me and being like, giving me all of this information that I didn't know. Like, I had no concept of the fact that we were being used because of this specifically capital driven system, kind of as guinea pigs, because they needed to profit, they needed to make their money back. And yeah, Meridia has now been banned, but you know, at what cost? Because we lost thousands of lives because of it. So that was my turning point for realizing that we can't have a healthcare system that relies on profits and puts profits over the well-being of our people.
Thank you, Michelle. I see a familiar face here from Orange County, from the city of Orange, who's running for city council. In probably one of the most conservative towns. So Danette, if you could unmute yourself and tell us why you support Medicare for All. I just called upon you because I just do that.
Hello, Miss Hanye, my friend. Thank you for leading the charge, by the way. Yes, I am taking on the very uphill battle of trying to unseat people that have been on the city council, actually at least one of them, for decades. Yeah, they're basically model their policies after kind of Trump. I would call them Trumpians for sure. I think it's just a really good decision. It's going to save the city so much money if we have a single payer in the city. I don't know why it hasn't been proposed before. that money could be used to improve our public schools, which are being attacked right now, on the local level as well as national. So I don't know why it hasn't been brought up before. It's such a great idea. And yeah, it's ridiculous what's going on with this. You know, it needs to be on the platform, absolutely. Locally, nationally, statewide, all of it. Yep, absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you, Danette.
Thank you.
And my unbought and unbossed friend, Gina, tell us, where do you see us going next, sis, on this issue?
I don't know about you. I'm out to the Andromeda Galaxy. I can't deal. I'm just being honest. We have a hell of a fight coming up, guys. This is going to be straight up blood sport. And that's why I've been encouraging people, including myself, to take a little bit of a rest time. It's okay. This is not going away. The reason why I say that is because of the panel I was on, Power to Heal. If you guys haven't watched that documentary, please do. It brings me to my, it really does kind of make me cry every time, but it shows how much the civil rights movement had such a strong influence in the passage of Medicare. But what I realized this third time watching it is that while it was a fight, it was an indeed strong, very bloody fight to get this passed. The opposition that they faced then is nowhere near what the hell we have now. And now we have billions of dollars with a B, probably close to trillions, honestly, that will be going up against us. So I realized that we actually will have a harder fight than they even did in the 60s, early 70s, or the late 60s when they fought for this. So I encourage us, we're going to have a united thing. And Medicare for All is the intersection. This is the Rosetta Stone of the progressive movement. This is the one thing, no matter if you are green, if you're a Democrat, if you're somewhere in between, if you're a DSA member, we all agree on this. This is our Rosetta Stone. This is our intersection. We all have to come together and fight like hell. I mean, because we are going to be it's going to be just a blood sport. When I realized how much United Healthcare has stacked up against this, they already have coalitions built for anti-Medicare for all. So they already have it. They have 9 lobby firms that they have at their disposal. And this is just United Healthcare. We're not talking about Anthem. We're not talking about Kaiser, all the other plans. This is just United Healthcare. So I realize we are going to have a fight. And not to sound grim, we can do this because the public opinion is on our side, especially after COVID. And people are very much so wanting their money back. So we can do this. It's just that we have to have a united front. And the first thing is that we have to push within the Democratic Party, holding our friends accountable. As I'm getting ready to hop off right now and go to the LACDP meeting, that is one thing that our friends have to be held accountable. And I want Democrats to get that in through their head that friends don't let friends not have health care, basically. So like I said, we're going to have to move forward. We're going to have to move forward united. This is the intersection right here. Medicare for All is how we're all going to come together. This is going to be our uniting movement that's going to unite the country together. But we have to be united. Anything less, we won't win because they're going to be too powerful. So we can do this. We just have to do it united. We have to agree to disagree sometimes, but we just really have to push all together.
And the beauty of movement, this progressive movement, is that it is a young movement that is not exhausted just yet.
That's true.
Well, you're literally in the line of fire, right? So, and you have been for so long. But for someone like me who's new to this conversation, in terms of, a couple of years ago, someone like from my community wouldn't have a platform to even stand on, right? In terms of politics. So for me, I'm energized, right? I hear you sometimes, and I'm like, rest, sis, I got your back, right? I'll fight for you if you need me to, and that's the truth. But the beauty of this is that we're not going to stop, and for us, the fight doesn't stop beyond or after the convention. It only begins now because we have more of the struggle, just like Gina was talking about. Now we have our VP pick, who's not the most progressive female, so we're looking forward to it, right?
Can I just add? Oh, sorry. Can I just add really, really quick? Coming out of 2016, since I was a 2016 delegate too, Medicare for All was not like people, it just wasn't there. We have a hell of a lot momentum. So even though this seems really, really grim and dark, we got a very, very moderate, president and vice president, blah, blah, blah. Medicare for All is a trending topic. Before in 2016, Medicare for All was just like the inner progressives knew about it, not even kind of like all progressives, inner progressives knew about it. So we have made tremendous progress in just 4 years, and 4 years in political terms is not very long. So truthfully, we've made an amazing amount of progress. And I know that this time around, now that it's actually mainstream and buzzing, we can take it, just got to stick together. We got to do it together.
And we also need to start taking charge in terms of just locally as well. Like when I remember the first time I called Dr. Bill to talk about Medicare for All, it was a new conversation for me, but I'd seen my own business struggle with it. I'm married to a Black man, so the conversation isn't necessarily, always up and, happy about the discriminations in our society toward our communities of color. So when I called him, our initial conversation was about, the delegation process and how to become engaged. And then we just talked about, okay, how can we put a resolution together, right? And we did that, and it passed without a veto from the Democratic Party of Orange County, right? We're proud of that. We made a change. We're going to continue doing that. We're going to continue putting the pressure on our local politicians. Local, small steps make huge changes. Sudi, I have you here on the call. We see your car.
Yes.
Can you give us a report of what's happening, what you see?
What's happening is that we are behind the red light right now.
Okay.
Okay, let me see. Can I turn this camera? Oh, there we go. Right, so we are behind the red light right now, and there's a procession. I would say there's about 20 cars here. And we've been going around Disneyland, just making a lot of noise. There's a videographer and photographer that's been taking pictures. And there is a loud noise coming up front from some car up front. So let me turn this around and you guys can see better. All right, let's see. Is it turning?
Drive safe.
There we go.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you for your efforts. We appreciate you. Thank you, Sudi. Thank you, Sudi. Thank you for reporting. So I want to end it with this. And thank you for everybody and to everybody who participated on this call. And again, we, the fight only begins now, and we just got started. But we also want to talk about how incredibly amazing it is for us to see a new progressive candidates who are taking over. In office. We just had Cori Bush elected, which is a huge thing for us, right? In the progressive movement. Jamal Bowman, Rashida Tlaib, who is for the people, as well as Marquita Bradshaw, and we're hoping that we have Elhan Omar elected, also re-elected again tonight. Today she has a race, so we're keeping our fingers crossed. So. It's not doom and gloom. We are going to see Medicare for All pass in our lifetime, and I'm sure of it because we're going to continue to put the pressure on the party leadership. And yeah, it is great that we're going to put our forces behind Biden, but I think we need to start holding Biden accountable. After all, obviously Obama's administration was the father of Medicare, right? In this country. So why doesn't he give us a single payer healthcare system? That would be the question, right? I want to thank everybody and all of you who attended this meeting, this conversation. We're definitely honored to have and heard all of your testimonies. And thank you, Dr. Bill, Dr. Newport, Dr. Birnbaum, for sharing your knowledge on Medicare for All, our very own Gina Harris. We do have two more events coming up. We have 2 packed days on the 15th and the 16th. Obviously, we're not able to attend the convention in person, so we decided as California, with the help of our grassroots organizers, to put to create a shadow convention ourselves. Lauren, do you have the schedule in front of you that you could share with us? Oh, I do see it shared by Lauren already. But we do have a great lineup of speakers for both events on both days. We are going to talk about the single payer healthcare we're going to have that conversation with our very own Patrice Cullors, the founder of Black Lives Matter. On Saturday, we're also going to have a number of speakers and panels on Saturday, but we also have a very busy day on Sunday, and that we ask all of you to attend to listen to some of our experts on foreign policy, the people's budget, and see where we can go from here. I look forward to seeing you all. Thank you for participating, and have a blessed night. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Stay healthy.
Good job. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Bye-bye now.
Together we will.
Thank you all. That was awesome.
Thank you. Thanks, Danette.
Thank
Have
you.
a good night.
Bye.
Lauren, Stephen and I will stay for a little bit to debrief.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks for
you.
coming.
You're welcome.
Hope to see you this weekend too.
I'm just more and more confused at how the Democrats are doing this. So this is really helping educate Valinda and myself. So thanks a lot, and keep on doing this, because I don't know any other way that we're going to get it, because it's not on the news.
It's
not on
people's
television.
power. Yeah, it's the people's movement. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
We got this.
Wonderful presentation. Really.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Have a great
blessed
night.
Thank you.
I'm putting folks back in the waiting room.
Perfect.
Lisette, thanks for coming all the way from abroad.